Ontario's government was hoping to avoid a school staff strike by implementing new legislation announced by Education Minister Stephen Lecce.
As you know, we made an offer to CUPE yesterday. We attempted to resolve our differences by working with a well-respected mediator. But CUPE yesterday failed to make any substantial concessions on their demands.
So CUPE, the union representing school support staff, has announced that its workers are going to strike Friday regardless, risking fines and affecting students. So we're joined this morning by the Ontario School Board Council of Union CUPE's president, Laura Walton. Good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
What's wrong with the deal that the province wants to put in place?
Well, first of all, I think what the big problem that's wrong with the deal is when you bring people in on a Sunday afternoon, you don't let them know what you're doing, and then you present them with a deal that you say is going to be legislated if they choose not to take it. There already is an ultimatum being served, and then, we're moving towards this idea of we're going to strip away your rights, even if you don't take this. But if we look at the deal itself, it does not protect services that students need. It does not ensure a kindergarten. Every kindergarten in the province of Ontario has a DECE in it, an early childhood educator. It does not go far enough to provide services for students. And frankly, it actually is worse as far as a wage than it was back in August. It actually would see more people further in poverty at a time where we know that inflation is at an all-time high.
This is the first time in Canada that the notwithstanding clause has been used to pass Labour legislation. Government saying they're doing this because kids and parents don't want to be at home. They've done 2 years of this already, being at home, missing school because of the pandemic. So what's your response to that?
My response to that is that this has got nothing to do with kids being at home or keeping people safe or making people happy. As a matter of fact, this government didn't use any of this legislation in the past 2 years during a global pandemic. This is about attacking worker rights. This is a government that campaigned on working for workers, better jobs, bigger paychecks, and now we know that those were all empty campaign promises.
How long do you think a strike like this could affect students in Ontario schools?
Well, I think what I would say is it's not just about the strike. What I am very afraid of is that if the legislation that goes through, as the minister has put it, you will see a mass exodus of staff because they're ready to quit. They can no longer afford to do this work. They are seeking work elsewhere. And I think that's what worries me far more than any strike in this world is the instability that's going to happen when people can no longer afford to do the work that they love. We already have school boards that are hiring unqualified people to do this work. We already have, stories of parents having to sit outside of schools because there's not enough staff to support their children. I mean, our education system is in crisis. And rather than sit down and talk, this minister is just taking his ball and going home.
So he says he was willing to sit down and talk. He said he was willing to put a deal on the table. And if I understand you correctly, and I just want to make sure that I'm clear, that you're saying that if they are forced to take this deal, then that is going to lead to teachers leaving the profession.
Well, to be respectful, we don't represent teachers. We represent education workers, EAs, ECEs, clerical, IT, maintenance, trades, lunchroom supervisors. These are folks that make on average $39,000 a year. Mm-hmm. These are not teachers. These are people who are struggling to get by. The majority of them work more than one job, a quarter of whom are seeking food bank help. If you want to sit down and talk, you sit down and talk. You don't sit down and say, you either take this or we legislate. That's the problem here. This government has never sat down and and negotiated. They've always been on a path to legislation, and now we've seen them do it. I have met this minister once face-to-face in his entire term as education minister. I think, this is just absolute posturing by the government. It's a complete and utter overreach. And frankly, stripping away, and what people may not know, is he used the notwithstanding clause not just on our charter rights, but also on our human rights. And that is so problematic to me. If this deal was so generous, if this deal was so good, they didn't even give us a chance to take it back to workers.
Laura Walton, good to talk to you this morning. And as you know, you're watching, as we are, this debate that's going on right now at Queen's Park. Thanks for making time for us this morning.
Thank you. Take care.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.